Alright guys, Rich here from the RC Network, and this is going to be my full, honest review of the new Tower Hobbies Cutback. This is their newest four-wheel drive short course truck, 1/10 scale. So this comes pretty much as an RTR. The only thing you do have to provide are 4 AA's for the transmitter you see in the far right, and you do need a standard size stick pack for the actual vehicle. Now it is recommended that you run either a 2S or a 3S LiPo in this. It is compatible with both the ESCs, and I pretty much ran this thing on 3S. So we're going to go over lots of nitty-gritty stuff here, and I'm prepared to give my honest feedback of this truck, and you'll see what I mean by that a little bit later on in this video. So this video will probably crest over the 10-minute mark, so strap in, get your seatbelts tightened, and let's start taking a look at this truck here. Now, overall, the looks of the truck is great, and I think on paper, when I read this when it was announced, it looked awesome. I mean, you had a very good looking truck. I mean, the paint scheme seems to be very nice. When you started to look at the chassis, the electronics, everything was just spot on. I mean, this thing looked like, this was the truck to get for 2014, now that it is 2015, but this was released last year. So, but overall, the looks of this truck is great. On down the line, remove the body here. What really intrigued me was the center drive line. That's what a lot of short course trucks kind of miss the mark on. Right here, you'll see that the front diff goes straight down the center, all the way back to the rear diff, all straight. It kind of takes out the issues with a off-center drive line for, center of balance, center of gravity, all sorts of things. So very nice that it has a very centered drive line. So that is definitely another positive of this vehicle. Kind of have my notes off to the side here so I can remember everything for you guys. Last thing that is definitely a positive of this truck, it comes with some cool upgrades right out of the box. So if you remember the unboxing video, the plain white box was labeled Alloy Force. And what that means is basically you get a stamped aluminum front and rear shock tower, which is very nice, seems to be about 4 millimeters. You do get a aluminum Ackerman, you have an aluminum front toe plate, and then, of course, the bottom of the vehicle, you get that nice aluminum chassis. So very low C22 style chassis. So it has a center bar right down the center, and then you got like a plastic tub surrounding it. So very nice that they're including that right out of the box at the $299 price point. So that was very pleasing to see. Now down the line, everything else looked great on this buggy on paper. Once I received it, I started to notice some other things, and we're going to go kind of step by step through some of those negatives, hopefully end on a positive towards the end. You'll notice the first thing here is I'm not running the stock shocks. Right here you'll see a full set of Proline ProSpec shocks, and if you do the math on that, you have about, almost $150 in shocks sitting on this truck, and it's for good reason, because the stock shocks that came on this particular SCT, these guys right here, all plastic, and whomever built these shocks, they missed that day at RC 101 school on how to build shocks. Needless to say, in my two rears, the lock nut holding the piston on, was not put on or even tightened. So the shocks fell apart when I first got this truck going. The fronts are what I call my version of the worst stiction shocks that I've ever known. It basically means that I need to tear these things down, cut off the little tangs that are probably still sitting on the pistons, and rebuild these shocks, which I didn't have time for. So I had these ProSpec shocks right here from Proline sitting in the shop. Threw those on. They were a direct bolt on. There was no issues getting them bolted on. I did have to remove the bottom eyelets right here from the stock shocks to fit inside the space allotted for the bottom of the A-arm. So you may find that, if you choose to upgrade your shocks. Otherwise, direct bolt-in, direct length, everything fit perfectly with those Proline Pro specs. So that's the first negative. It's definitely the shocks. They were horrible to say the least. Down the line, the front bumper, and I've seen this on several different vehicles out there, the front bumper, upon impact, will fold on itself, and you will end up pulling out these two screws right here. You'll notice I have two soft brass washers on there to make the hole a little bit larger for the screw to fit in. So in other words, this thing just gets folded in right here on the hinge portion, and this thing pops out of those screws, leaving the screws still attached to the front bulkhead. So ended up doing a quick fix for now, but I've seen this on countless different cutbacks. So definitely not a one-off issue. Same with the shocks. Next thing, the electronics. And I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but these electronics, on paper, once again, great looking electronics, and the specs on them are awesome. 540 size can, brushless. This is a 4-pole motor. It's pretty much optimized for 3S LiPo. Comes with a great ESC as well, but for some reason it is undergeared, but it's not. The gearing was great. When it got up to speed, it was awesome on 3S LiPo, but getting up to speed was the problem. The throttle curve basically went from right here, and it took forever to ramp up. Once it ramped up, the speed was awesome. But in the end, when you're doing jumps and whatnot, and you need that throttle control at the top of your jump to keep the nose either up or at least parallel with the ground, you're not able to do that because the throttle just wasn't there. So there's either an issue with the motor, or there's probably an issue with the ESC settings, which we don't have control over. So, down the line, hopefully Tower Hobbies can fix that. The next thing here, probably a negative that was first seen on paper, was it has all plastic links. So every link on this vehicle, either camber, steering, rear camber, or even the steering linkage, is all plastic fixed links. So there's no adjustability on that whatsoever. So kind of a downfall. It leads to a little bit more flexibility, which is good on a basher rig, not so good if you want some precise steering especially. The last thing that I have to say that's negative on this truck, and I know it's kind of a long list here, is the body. The body from the box actually was already torn right here at the Achilles heel of any short course truck. So it gets bent in pretty easily, and to say the least, I don't know that this truck, the chassis here, was designed for the shell or vice versa. The rear of the vehicle just doesn't fit, and it left me wanting to remove that entire rear bumper while I was running this thing. So I didn't want to do that because obviously it's already a nose heavy vehicle, or at least the throttle control was not there to get the nose up. So removing the rear bumper probably would have plagued it even more. So I chose not to do that. But here's my final thoughts on the Tower Hobbies cutback. I've actually sent in an email to Tower Hobbies to see what we can fix on this thing, to see if there's maybe some tweaks, or maybe there's some information I didn't know, or some of the other producers didn't know that have kind of tested this thing out. Maybe Vass over at Aussie RC Playground had a point about the center diff. It's a very tiny center diff, and it has plastic gears. Maybe having this 4-pole motor with full throttle, maybe that could be detrimental to that center diff. I'm not sure. Maybe there's something we don't know about this truck that the engineers knew that we don't. But till then, my final thoughts on this is it's a no buy. For $299, I think on paper it looks great, but you have 3 major issues. The first issue is going to be the shocks. Second issue is going to be the electronics package and the tuning of that. And then the last thing is going to be just some of the oddball small things like the links, the body mounts, the body, the front bumper, just some of the plastic. So I am not choosing to purchase a new bumper or send it in, because the same thing will happen. I'm going to work on hopefully fixing it. But I think in the end, when you start tallying up some of the things you need to add to this short course truck, which would include new electronics, new shocks, definitely have a fix for the front bumper. Maybe invest in some steel turnbuckles or aluminum ones. You're going to be into this thing for probably almost an additional price of a new vehicle. So till then, that is my thoughts on this Tower Hobbies Cutback. I've had fun driving it, but I did not have fun trying to jump this thing. It cartwheeled end over end to a point where I couldn't capture any decent video of this SCT truck out on the track. So, well, guys, that's my thoughts. That's my honest review of this thing. I know I don't like to be too negative on my reviews, but this thing definitely deserved it. And hopefully you'll have some honest input if you choose to buy this thing and make it something that is definitely competable. So I think it has huge potential. Like I said in the beginning of this video of all of the positives, I think it has nothing but one way to go, and that is up and not cut back. So till then, that is my thoughts on this vehicle. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to post those down below. And as always, thumbs up and subscribe. That's it for now, guys. Over and out.